Now you were saying the devil went down to Baton Rouge. What the heck are you talking about? The devil
Oh,
went to Baton Rouge?
look, I'm so discombobulated this evening. I don't even know whether the devil went to Baton Rouge, whether the devil was at City Hall today in the city council chambers. We'll talk about it, but folks, let me guarantee you we are flying by the seat of our pants tonight.
Well, I mean, look, Charlie Daniels was an American icon, and I don't care what anybody says. That might be one of the most greatest American songs ever written. The devil went
I,
down to Georgia. I
I
gotta
can
admit.
I cannot disagree with you at all on that, Mr.
But
Lowry.
my long term favorite, the old rolling down a hill like a snowball from hell or whatever. The way Waylon Jennings.
I was going to say I think it's probably a Waylon song, so
That's
yeah.
that's still my favorite. That's still my favorite.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. Look, did you notice our background? Looky there.
I
Mr.
did.
Freeze, like Batman, and when Arnold Schwarzenegger was Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
I
swear
noticed
I
that.
got
It's
the
like
idea.
frozen everywhere. It wasn't frozen in Baton Rouge today, but it was frozen in Bossier City. But yet, one local government agency in Bossier said, I mean, I don't know. It's like
You,
they know no end. They were telling people on one hand, stay home, be safe, don't get out. But oh, by the way, we're going to have a council meeting and a charter meeting,
but
and
but
if you
wait,
make it, great. We'd love to see you, but if you wreck, don't call us.
but wait, there's more. So I put one of my snarky little posts up on Bossier Watch about we know the reason, which is money. Well, lo and behold, I was right because you know what takes precedence over uh, citizens being able to relatively safely attend those meetings. Do you know what takes precedent over that, Mr. Lowry? Why?
I'm assuming the expenditure of taxpayer dollars.
Bingo. Well, or in this case, the generation or continued collection of taxpayer dollars because the city council literally waited to the last minute. So, and of course, we know why they did that, but they literally waited, admittedly, to the last minute to put the millage proposal up. And so they had to do it today or they couldn't get it in front of the bond commission to have it in time on the next ballot for April the 27th. Now, I didn't go back and double check to see if that millage would have expired or if they could have waited to put it on a May ballot or on the next November ballot. I didn't do my due diligence on that because, well, I had to drive back in the ice because the Charter Commission meeting lasted until like, I don't know, 5:30.
Oh, I guess that was a house full of people there braving the snow and treacherous ice to come to that one as well too, huh?
Well, it
Interesting.
was a pretty good crowd considering the ice. Look, Hammonds was there. Chris Smith stayed for it. Even Tommy stayed there. The deputy marshals were there, of course. Morehart, the CPA, was there because his wife is on the commission. So you know,
Ah. So
eh,
so needless to say, we got a little bit of stuff we're going to talk about Bossier, and I know that you're going to be probably leading the charge on that because you was kind of following that, but we're also going to talk about all of the we like to use the word shenanigans, and that's actually not the right word because I really didn't see a lot of shenanigans. I saw a lot of ideas going on, but I'm sure our special guest waiting in the wings to come in, making enlighten us of any shenanigans maybe that he saw.
I'll
But
be intrigued to hear about that here in a few
we,
minutes.
we we've got a legislator that's going to come in and give us a little bit of some insight of maybe what we didn't see. I got to admit, I primarily followed what was happening on the Senate side regarding the special session, and so we're going to talk about that. What
Hmm.
else is on the agenda?
Well, we're going to talk about taxes, taxes, taxes. I've got some information and a little bit of history on the Cypress District and what's coming up there, so we'll spend a few minutes on that. And then we'll talk as much as I can about the City Council meeting and the Charter Commission meeting going from my notes because we don't really have the video. I can show some of the video, but like I said, we're all discombobulated. Well, all right, so let's go ahead and do the intro and the countdown and all that.
Well,
And
well,
we'll
wait a minute. Wait a
wait,
minute.
what, what?
You
Am
left
I
something off
am I
because
jumping the gun?
the folks that are watching, they may want to, we tell people, y'all look, this is what we're going to talk about. You need to tell somebody that this may be pertinent to them. You left one thing out.
Whatever could I have left off?
Well, don't you know the Bossier Parish School Board had a little special meeting to fill a vacant
Oh,
seat?
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Have
you
they
did.
been pulling any shenanigans over at the school board office
I
too,
don't know
or
if you'd call
just
it I don't know if you would call it shenanigans, but I made an observation about the questions that the existing school board members asked and the people who had submitted their names. One of the people that submitted their names, their last name was Gaddy.
whoa? Hmm. Hmm. That sounds intriguing. Is Ryan trying to get back into politics?
Well, I tell you what, we'll have to go to the break and come back and talk about it, and I'll let you know then.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the countdown, the intro, get the screen ready for our guest because I haven't had time. Folks, y'all know the drill. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. Y'all like and share and tag, folks. We're going to share the show out. I'm going to get the guest screen or try to get it ready, and we'll be back in about 3.5 minutes. How about that?
Let's do it.
All right. Let me see if I can hit the right button tonight.
A lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. You know, there's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating. So I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
I titled it "A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys."
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
They're making a little bit of progress, but I would definitely have to give the race to Caddo Parish right now.
I don't know. Is there anybody from Plain Dealing watching, you think?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Did you or did you not requisition some money to fight against this or for it?
We hired a lobbyist, and it cost us $15,000. We were opposed to HB 630.
So for this week, folks, the cockroach of the week, according to Bossier Watch and Duke Lowry and Rex Moncrief, is
Raymond Cruz Legislative Assistant, Allie Feaster Smith. Thank you, Allie. Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. No way.
Okay,
It was not
okay.
David. You know it wasn't David Montgomery. David ain't gonna jump off in there with Chris. He ain't gonna do it. He'd as soon spit on him as he would even look at him. Man, this is a Mickey D's Krispy Kreme week. Didn't you know? Who's paying y'all? And if you're driving on the roads, are you safe?
It's on the road, yeah.
Well, I know you're on the road, but I mean, is this all folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico, the buses.
doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. Yeah, that's only going to cause more division that he claims he doesn't want to cause. And it's only going to cause more suspicion. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing. Folk Coleman Project, the Walker Place deal, through conscious, shocking action. The purpose of their actions was to stop plaintiffs, being the Earl Coleman and associated groups not, from developing Walker Place. But here's the key thing, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
You hit the button. Does that mean that people are seeing us sitting here talking and chatting?
In theory, you know, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. Let me pop us back into the screen real quick. I told y'all, folks, we're winging it, so I apologize for the ads. Let's see if I can do this. This edition of Bossier Watch brought to you tonight by Pelican Training and Consulting, Acadiana Mortgage over there, Smarter Geek over here, that's me, and of course the Outdoor News, which is over there. There we go. There's our sponsor ads.
Well, nothing like jumping right into it. Got no problem with that.
Yeah.
And
All
I
right.
say, without further ado, if you're ready, we go ahead and bring our guest in and let's jump right into it because Baton Rouge has got some things happening.
I agree. Let me see if I can get Danny on screen now. There we go. Can you hear us, Mr. McCormick?
I can. How are y'all doing today?
Oh, doing great. And even better, we can hear you.
There you go. That's great.
So, Danny, it is back to the wild and crazy in Baton Rouge, and I mean, I don't think this was the first day, but maybe I think the most business got conducted today. I mean, would that be accurate assessment?
We got a lot done today. I agree. You know, as you very well know, we're doing three major things. I guess we redrawing congressional maps, Supreme Court maps, and voting on closed primaries. And so those things are moving right along and through the system. And there's some say we may even be done by Friday. You know, whether that's correct or not, we may be here through next week. But we passed the closed primaries out of House committee today and suspended the rules so it could be heard on the House floor tomorrow. We did the same thing with the Supreme Court map and also the appropriations for the elections for closed primaries also moved out of committee and into the House floor, and we suspended rules so we can hear them, all three of them, tomorrow on the House floor.
Oh, y'all are moving along pretty good with all the, let's see, we've got, correct me if I'm wrong, we've got the Republican House, we got control of the Senate, and we got control of the governor's office, right?
That's correct. And I guess the congressional map, I just kind of share this with you. The congressional map, when Jeff Landry briefed us in the Republican delegation meeting, basically what he said was we'd lost the lawsuit. They tried to defend the congressional maps, and we had two choices. Either we could redraw them or and these are my words, not necessarily his, a liberal judge draw them for us. So that's why we're redrawing the congressional maps. Now, the Supreme Court maps, they have been redrawn one time in 103 years. So that was back in the 1990s. And as Jeff mentioned to us in the Republican caucus meeting, there was that there's no way to defend those maps. Some of them may have as high as 800,000 population in it, and another one may have 400,000. So those maps are being redrawn because he said those. He said we can go to. We haven't litigated these yet, but it's a losing cause. So we need to go ahead and get these behind us. And there's a couple of interesting things. I know Blake Miguez had a bill trying to make those Supreme Court maps to be elected statewide. That's something interesting going on in the Senate. And of course, my favorite is closed primaries. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed it's not going to go down to the local level. I was wishing it'd go down to the dog catcher. If I had my preferences, that's where it would go. But looks like it's going down to everywhere. Maybe district judges being the lowest level that it's going to. But I'm excited about closed primaries. It's something I think we've needed forever. I think without a strong governor like Jeff Landry would have never got this passed. In our Republican meetings, the rhinos were singing the blues, and they're not looking forward to running in closed primaries.
So I followed all of the bills on the Senate side, and I watched the committee, and pretty much all of them came out of committee that the Senate was proposing. But on the House side, I honestly I didn't pay attention to anything. So, but definitely on the House, it's definitely not going below at best case district judge on the closed primaries.
Yeah, that's what they're. Yes, that was our last briefing. That's correct. And I think we're getting pushback from the local municipalities, maybe the sheriffs, and I'm not saying every sheriff. I'm not saying the ones in our area, Northwest Louisiana. I don't know, but that seems to be where the most pressure is coming from. And but like I said, I told them in the meeting, guys, if closed primary is the answer, let's do closed primaries. Let's take it down to the dog catcher. But that wasn't the general consensus of the bunch. So we're not going as low as we should go, in my opinion. But I guess what they say in politics, you never get everything you want.
All right. So educate me a little bit. So I'm going to play, play the uneducated political person here. What is the advantage or disadvantage to closed primaries versus, of course, open primaries? And let me clarify for everybody: an open primary means that whether you're a Democrat, independent, no party, I guess, or whatever, you can vote in a Republican election and vice versa.
I don't know if that's going to be the case in this particular instance. There's different. We haven't got down into those details yet, but the intent is to have the Republicans pick who the Republican person is that will go in the general election, and that's being going to be in the spring. That let me give you some disadvantages. Like me being an incumbent, we have. Spring primaries, but we also are in session, and so I can't be knocking on doors like I used to. So that's not a good thing. But on the other hand, let's just talk about my particular race I had this year. My opponent his strategy was to in my district. There's probably about 68% conservative voters, 32% liberal type voters, I guess I would say. And my opponent was trying to appeal to those 32% and get that percentage of the vote and just draw enough Republicans. The best part about it is going to let people run to the right of rhinos without the Democrats being able to weigh in and pick which Republican. Now, let me give you a downside, though, to it. In my district, too, the opposite kind of happens on the Democratic side. Like right now, in Senate District 39, we actually get to pick North Caddo Parish, which is largely Republican, and has to influence on which Democratic senator gets elected. Statistically speaking, we can't elect a Republican, but we have lots of sway in what Democrat senator gets elected. Well, under closed primaries, we won't have that ability. We will be pretty much neutralized in the Senate. So you're probably going to get people that are going to run more conservative Republicans, but you may get more leftist Democrats too. So, but most states are doing this now. I think we're the only ones left with a true jungle primary, and I think it's something that no other governor before would have been strong enough to get across, and I'm excited about it. And as a founding member of the Louisiana Freedom Caucus, we've actually endorsed Jeff Landry's plan for closed primaries also.
Yeah, I saw y'all had put your endorsement out. It came out. I saw it the first thing this morning. You may have put it out probably before then, but that's good that you did. The Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee, we called an emergency meeting. Not that anybody knows, but we actually called for all of our local legislators to support it, and we endorse it as well too. A lot of people, Danny, say, and you're right. I mean, we may lose in a couple of places on this issue, like being able to influence here, but in the same token, the other side of the aisle, they're going to lose in places as well too. But it levels the playing field because you're not allowing a middle of the road moderate to be able to influence something one way or the other. Why should a Republican have to accept a moderate? When the Republican Party says that we want limited government, but yet we're supposed to take the person who can get a vote that has an ideal of, well, maybe we should accept some of these moderate leftist ideas, and not be so much to the right like Danny McCormick. I mean, this enables us to have more candidates that are conservative like you and less of the moderates going into a general election. And I know I'm talking a lot and I'm getting to the question here. A lot of people misunderstand and they think that, well, okay, they could just say, say they could run against Danny McCormick, but then once they run against Danny McCormick, they could just switch parties real quick and then go qualify as a Democrat. Is that how that works?
We discussed that actually today in one of the meetings we have, but and we're going to, I believe the way the bill reads, and we're going to make sure that the author was answering the question. She's going to make sure this is how it reads. When it comes, qualifying will be before the primary. So whatever you qualify for, you can't qualify for something else. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to qualify as a Republican, you got to do it before the primary. You can't switch after the primary is over with. So no, that can't happen. You can switch parties, but you can't sign up because the qualifying is before the primary.
Yeah, and the reason that I say that is because in Rex, let me hold that thought. In our notes, I had it built in because I was going to go in depth because in Iowa, we just saw in the caucuses up there, like Trump won all of the counties, right? But then all of a sudden there was this one county that Joe Biden won by 100%, suddenly was all of a sudden going to Nikki Haley. Well, what they're reporting is that the caucus ran out of party affiliation change forms because Democrats were rushing to the caucus to change their party affiliation to be able to vote for Nikki Haley against Donald Trump. So there's a lot of concern about people and some shenanigans going on right there. I don't think it's founded, but I'm just throwing it out there. That's why I said that and asked that question.
That was a legitimate question too, and it is concerned, and that's why we need these to debate and everything, because lots of us hadn't even crossed our minds that could happen until it come up into our Republican delegation meeting today. So, yeah, the author was pretty sure that couldn't happen, but was going to double check and make sure it couldn't happen.
All right, so here goes the question to address Cindy's and the comment and a couple others and all that, and to kind of go back to a part of my question earlier. So I just pulled up the numbers. There are 821,000, well, that's little, 906 registered no party in the state of Louisiana as of January 1, 2024. How does this affect those no party or independent, if we want to generally call them that, voters when we have a closed primary?
Well, and it depends on what law we passed. As you very well know, things are fluid now. Things are changing. The bills are working through the process, and I think uh, I think this is the way it's going to be. There'll be a Republican primary. There'll be an independent primary. There can be a Green Party primary. There can be a Democratic primary. But no party is no party, so there would not be a no party primary. So would they get to vote in any primary they want? I don't think so. I don't think that's what we're going to see. I think they're going to have to change their party affiliation to be able to vote in the primary. Now they will be able to vote in the general election at the end. So, but we don't know that for sure yet. It's kind of fluid. It's moving. It's got a long ways to go before it gets to the end. But I think that's the preference of the legislature right now.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
What do you think on the Supreme Court? Jeff Sadow just made a post, and Jeff says it's more complicated than what Danny says. Landry's preferred congressional map may have constitutional problem, and there's no legal reason to have to reapportion the Supreme Court. It would take a major shift in jurisprudence to make that, even if a large degree of malappropriation exists, unconstitutional. I mean, so basically, I think what he's saying is that it's not necessarily to the level that we need to make a change in the judicial, districts. Is that kind of your take, that, or is the feel down there that the legislature feels like they have to, and that they're going to get sued if they don't?
Actually, I think they've already been sued. I don't think it's been to court yet. But basically, what the governor told us, him being the attorney general, and Liz Morrell was in the room when he was making his comments, that the maps we have now are undefendable. You can't defend them in court. So that's their opinions. And all I can do is, attorney general is the one that's going to have to defend us. So by the fact that they're saying that, I just have to assume that that's true. The other thing is the maps were actually drawn by the Louisiana Supreme Court justices. So, I don't know that and I say that, I think it's drawn and approved by 5 of the 7 judges. I don't think 2 of them actually approved. And, and so I don't know where that map winds up, but if it winds up in front of the judges that drew it, I guess they're going to think it's constitutional. I don't know the answer to that question. Now, there are, we're actually, the map actually splits, the last map I've seen, unless it changed, split Caddo Parish in half. People aren't happy with that the way the map was drawn. But the way it was drawn was to, and most maps are drawn this way. I don't know if this is good or bad, but it's to, so the incumbents can run in the same districts, and the people that are term limited are not running again. That's where they're changed at, and that falls in Northwest Louisiana. And there's a lot of people from Northwest Louisiana, and some of our justices, I think, 1 or maybe 2 of the justices aren't happy with the way the map's being drawn. But in this particular instance, it looks like the map that's going to be passed.
Well, I will tell you, and I have them in the notes, and I'm not gonna beat you down here. We're beating you enough, but there was actually out of the Senate side. I'll tell you, there were 3 maps that came out of the Senate side, and you're right. One of them did. I mean, it just made a Swiss cheese out of Caddo. It looked like, and who knows? I hope that one doesn't make it through there. But you also had the proposal that had its map of its own, increasing the justices to 10 justices, and that one actually looked pretty interesting. I have to admit, though, I will tell you, the members of that Senate committee, it looked sketchy there for a second that it was even going to get moved on it.
The argument is you want justices that from your area that are, they're located in your area to represent you on the Supreme Court. My thought process would be, as long as we have majority conservative judges, I would be happy. But, maybe that's not right. Some others disagree with that. They say, that a conservative judge from South Louisiana is going to have a different view than a conservative judge from Northwest Louisiana. So that's a good argument. It kind of comes down to, though, Jeff Landry is got his preferred maps, and I'd be shocked if those don't get the votes needed to move it out of the House.
So you're seeing Jeff's influence being that strong.
Yes, I mean, yes, I see it that way. I may be wrong, but I do. And I want to say something about Governor Landry too that I think is important for your viewers to understand. And I'll say this, everything, it doesn't matter if you're talking about business, friendships, or political people. The best indicator of future performance is past performance. Jeff Landry has been a staunch conservative. I don't know if I can say that about another half dozen people in the state of Louisiana, but he's been a staunch conservative. So, when it comes down to, who do I, at the end of the day, who am I influenced by when it's a toss-up? I'm going to be supporting the governor till he proves himself otherwise. And so, Jeff Landry, he's been staunch, and that's coming for somebody. He was probably redrawn out of his congressional district, and he was in Washington because he was such a conservative. That's a very good. I don't know if they didn't get rid of him in Congress by doing that.
All right, so here comes the inevitable question, because you are one of my favorite state reps, Danny. So now that we now that we have Republicans on the Senate side, on the House side, and we've got the governor's mansion, how soon are we getting constitutional carry?
That's a good question. We are getting it. I can guarantee you that. 2 things I don't know. Will the call for the criminal justice special session be broad enough to have constitutional carry in that session? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I'm ready to go. I have my bill drawn up and I'm ready to go. Or will it be in the regular session? What we have to worry about is them watering the bill down. It's no doubt we're going to get a bill. We don't want a bunch of caveats put in there like that I tell everybody we want to pass a constitutional carry bill that people don't have to go to class, and so it's so confusing to be able to carry concealed without a permit. And also it's important to me, and I know this is going to be a target It has been every year I've been down here trying to change the age from 18 to 21. That's something I'm very passionate about, keeping it at 18. As y'all very well know, in Louisiana, you cannot get a concealed carry permit till you're 21. The gun groups don't want to change that because we have reciprocity with so many other states. If we change to 18, we'd lose reciprocity with several states. So I said, okay, do y'all give me concealed carry with a permit at 18, or you give me constitutional carry at 18? I have 4 granddaughters. 3 of them killed their deer, and most of them, I think, 2 of them are at 6 years old. One of them was 7. And when they turn 18 years of age and they're most vulnerable in their life, and we send them out of the home, we don't let them carry a gun in their purse to protect themselves from murderers and rapists. I'm appalled by that. In a state with so much crime, and they're trying to take those rights away. When they can take a gun, they can take a 12-gauge shotgun, strap it on their back, and legally walk in a store, unless it has a sign saying they can't. They can walk around with a 12-gauge shotgun in Walmart on their back legally, but it can't put a 38 snub nose in their purse. I mean, that just makes no sense.
Well, here's the ultimate paradox too: is they can legally open carry a handgun as well, or pistol.
Bet they can have 245s with a shoulder holster. As long as you can see them, they're good. But you can't put it, so that's silliness. It's silliness not to make the age 18, and that's going to be a fight, and that's very passionate about that. That we don't allow our young ladies to conceal carry without a permit to protect themselves, and I'm passionate about that. So I see that as being one of the fights there, Rex.
Well, you have my full support.
Well, thank you.
I know you're surprised by that, Danny.
for the little itty bitty bit that it's worth, you have my full support.
Hey, it's worth a lot. I appreciate that very much. The people in Louisiana have waited too long for constitutional carry. Every state that touches Louisiana has it. 26 other states in the union, and the people, and it's a right they took away from us. They had no right taking it away from us. So it's time they gave it back because it wasn't theirs to take.
Bingo.
You got that right, brother. Well, we ain't going to keep you. We know y'all had a long day, and we appreciate you taking time this afternoon. I mean, I know I don't know how it is to be a legislator, but I know how it is to stand down there with all these freaking people in these suit and ties and arguing all day long, and then at the end of the day, to come on a show to talk about this crap with a couple of jackwagons on a show. I mean, I appreciate it. I respect it.
Hey, we appreciate y'all. If there's one thing I can say, and I'd like to say to your audience, and please listen, audience, one thing that's important in what's happening in Baton Rouge, when you're talking about the majority, the reason there's a majority in the House, and the reason there's a majority in the Senate, and the reason we have Jeff Landry as a governor, is grassroots shows like this one, and voters like you, putting the pressure on your elected officials to do the right thing. And don't think now, don't go to sleep now. We're like in the first 5 minutes of a 4-quarter Super Bowl game. Don't go to sleep on this. It's just now getting exciting down here. So stay involved, keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate the grassroots. I mean, that's what's changed in this world, in this state, is that energy. That's why I'm here. If it weren't for shows like this and people like this and your viewers, I would not be here. Because you can bet the bureaucrats and the career politicians didn't put me in Baton Rouge.
Well, we appreciate you too, Danny. You do good work down there.
Yeah, keep us informed when we need to put in red cards or green cards, because we can do it from here.
That sounds great, and we appreciate that very much.
All right, thanks a lot. See you later.
Thanks, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Thank y'all.
Well, as usual, that was a good conversation with Mr. McCormick.
Yeah, Danny is always on point. Like I said, I wasn't following at all what was going on the House side, and I'm sure it was a lot of the same, and primarily the Senate stuff. And I want to tell you, I wasn't the only one that was kind of following what was going on. If you'll share my screen, I'll tell you, walk on water. I mean, what would be a Bossier watch that we didn't talk about walk on water?
All right, let me see if I can get your screen pulled up. Let's see, share Duke's screen, publish, back to live mode. Okay. Well,
so I got it zoomed in a little bit. It's a little big. I'm trying to work out this multiple monitor thing here. But anyway, he says, "Hey, we've just seen a very very concerned with the proposed congressional map presented in the Louisiana legislature. It remains my position that the existing map is constitutional. That the legal challenge to it should be tried on merits, so the state has adequate opportunity to defend its merits." So, Mike Johnson is advocating that let's go to court. Let's keep on fighting.
Well, what?
And
Wait a minute now. Refresh my memory. Didn't we just have a guest on, like literally a couple of minutes ago, who said, and I'm closely paraphrasing, we can't defend those maps in court as they are?
well, our good neighbor Walk on Water, I think, is talking about the congressional maps. I don't know that he's
Okay.
talking
Okay.
about the
The
judicial
state.
maps.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, everybody has to understand. You got to take a step back here. Let's dumb this thing down. We're good at
Right.
this. I mean,
Right.
so we got two problems here. One, you've got the congressional districts, and I think it's already. I would have to disagree with Walk on Water. I mean, I know y'all find that hard to believe, but it's already been to court, and the court said, "Hey, Louisiana, you got to redraw your maps. You got to do something different, right?" Well, Mike is advocating that we keep on fighting. I mean, he may be right. He
Well,
may
he's a
be
lawyer.
wrong. Well, he is a lawyer, and although he's got a dog in the hunt, I mean, it could be that his district could be affected maybe a little bit. He's only the Speaker of the House. Maybe he thinks he might have some influence in Baton Rouge. I mean, he's only went along with the Biden budget, and we're sending money to Ukraine, and our debt's increasing. And anyway, I'm not going to go off on a tangent. I mean, who cares? So what? So what if they got transgender studies in other countries paid for by us?
But hold
Doesn't
on for a
matter.
second. So I'm still a little confused. Help me out here. In this quote, is he talking about the congressional map presented to the legislature today that Danny
I
was just talking about?
I think that he is. I think that he is. And if you will go to, I counted 3 different congressional maps, and I have them in the cut 3, cut 4, and cut 5. And
Okay,
if you
give me a
want
second.
to, we can start working to pull those up, and we'll show everybody exactly what was being deliberated. I'm sure that these were similar maps that were proposed in the House, but these were the ones that I captured being proposed in the Senate today.
Okay.
So
So
this
I'm
was
gonna hold on for a second. So I'm gonna zoom that in, but I realize it's a little blurry, folks. It's a screen capture, and for those of you listening, it's a map of Louisiana showing some, I guess, proposed. Duke, you'll tell us in a second. Congressional maps.
yeah, this is one of the examples of a proposed map, and you see how you can see by the shades of the colors. We can't. I mean, the image is not good enough for you to see the numbers, but as you can tell, this map in particular, I mean, it hovers the left hand side of the state, dropping down almost to Lake Charles, goes all the way up, takes a part of Caddo, loops around to Bossier. I mean, almost to Monroe. But there's a sliver of a district that comes up, obviously, and takes out part of Caddo. Um, I don't know everything that goes in. I don't know if this was the map that Walk on Water was taking issue with. I would assume that this is the map that he was probably taking issue with. But let's go to the next map. Let's look at that one. This was
Okay, let
another
me
proposed map.
drag it over there. I'm gonna zoom it up some.
Okay, so as you can see in this one, the congressional district 4, it changes a little bit, and but most of the north state and the northern and south western congressional districts all are blocks, which would be more representative of the rural areas. It keeps Shreveport, Bossier, Northwest Louisiana contiguous. But if you get down there around Orleans and down into that area, you can see that's kind of where it gets a little sketchy down in that area. Especially keep going the way you're going there. I mean, you see that little finger down there in the way.
Is that called gerrymandering? Isn't that the right term?
Yeah, well, I mean, the same case could be made for the previous map with it
Well, that's
taking a
true.
finger right up into Caddo and taking part of Caddo.
That's
Yeah, to
true.
really, but why do we have to have these little fingers? Why are they drawing them this way? Why would you do that? Well,
Well, I
the
guess
answer,
it's should be following population, right?
no, it's not following population at
Okay.
all. It's following the color of your skin.
Oh, well, following a certain population. Then let me rephrase that.
That's right. It's following the color of the skin. That is the point of this. So we said it. Let's go to the next map. That's why you have this. That's why this
Okay.
is happening.
And before we do that, real quick, let me put this comment up here. Let's see what Jeff Sadow has to say. He says, "You may not like to hear it, but Mike is right. To be brief, the Kavanaugh concurrence leaves room for a constitutional challenge that could rescue the current map. In fact, the state has argued that in the similar case challenge or in fact, the state has argued that in the similar case challenging Louisiana's legislative districts." So Mr. Sadow is agreeing with MJ.
Yeah, and I'm not look, I'm not saying walk on water is wrong. I'm not saying that at all. And if you want to while I'm yapping, go to cut 5. Um,
Yeah, that
pull
should be it.
pull the third map up there. I'm not saying that walk on water is absolutely wrong, that we shouldn't challenge it and keep kind of going at it a little bit. But Jeff, maybe you will recall, but I think there was a similar case. It was either in Alabama or Mississippi, maybe even Georgia. I don't know which one it was that did go up to SCOTUS that basically set the mold that Louisiana was going to end up having to follow the same route. If we pursued the same course, we would have ended up getting the same result. Now, look, I'm no lawyer and I ain't followed this to a T, but that was my understanding. Perhaps I'm wrong. I don't know.
Hmm. Very interesting. All right, so this is cut 5. Is this one we want to be looking at?
Yeah, and again, it's just 3 different proposed, congressional district maps, and, who knows which one's gonna win out. Um, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. So, like I said, what we're showing here, and for those of you listening to the podcast version, is just proposed congressional maps.
And I wanna point out that I think, now you're jumping ahead a little bit
Yeah,
because
I jumped to the SCOTUS one. Hold on, let me get rid
yeah.
of that one, and let me put this one back. There we
Now
go. Okay.
I wanted to point something out that one of these maps has a Womack influence on it. I don't exactly
Oh,
know which one it is, but you might can put the last name of Womack on one of these maps.
would that be like David Womack? I've heard that name before.
Now, David Womack's not in the legislature. I'm just saying there's some
Oh,
individual down there, a state
okay.
senator with the last name of Womack that has a little bit of
Okay.
influence on
I was
something.
just making sure, that other David Womack fellow from down there around South Bossier and what out there in the sticks. He gets around. He's got some influence and some
He
pull.
gets yeah, that's right. So look, congressional redistricting, that was not the only item that was happening in the legislature. As we were talking to Danny McCormick earlier, closed party primaries. And in our notes, Rex, I have a link. I was telling you the story about, an event there or something that happened. There's a little short video that explains what took place up in Iowa in their caucuses.
All right, give me just a second, and I will get that pulled up because, of course, I am exceedingly unprepared tonight. Hold on a second.
Yeah,
Let me mute this.
so a lot of folks, y'all, what are we talking about when we're talking about the closed party primaries? For a lot of y'all, by all means, y'all know what we're talking about, but there's a lot of people that they don't understand. They hear people saying, "Okay, we're calling for closed party primaries." What exactly does that mean? So right now, as it is, we all have what's called a jungle primary. And that means that Republicans, Independent, Green Party, Democrat, everybody throws all their names out there at one time. And if you're a Democrat and you want to vote for a Republican, you can go vote for a Republican. If you're an independent, you want to vote for a Democrat, you can vote for a Democrat. If you're a Green Party and you want to vote for an independent, you can do that. So sounds like pretty good, not a problem. Well, the problem is so Republicans should be, or for the most part identify as being, say, limited government or conservative. Democrats believe that government should, do more for people. They're in favor of more government programs to give more to the people and take care of them, and therefore taxes to be able to pay for all of that. So if you have a district, let's say that's primarily Republicans, the Democrats realize, hey, we can't win. So, and I'm just giving a hypothetical. So the Democrats say, okay, well, let's put up somebody that we know is not really doesn't believe limited government. They believe more along the lines of what we believe, and we'll get them to run, and they'll get a certain percentage of the Republicans will vote for them, but then we'll give them the Democrat votes, and that will make them be able to get elected, and it will be more of a moderate Republican. That they'll be more like a Democrat than they would be a Republican.
Yeah.
Arguably, I would say that is what has gotten this country into the hell of a bind that we're in now, because in Washington, D.C., you don't have no distinction between a Republican and a Democrat.
Well, I would expand that further in DC, but yeah, I absolutely agree with you that the problem is, once they get elected, they run on certain things. Once they get elected, it's all one party. And it's the party of the politician, not traditional Republican, Democrat, independent, libertarian, whatever, pick your flavor. All right, so do we want to roll this video here?
Yeah, so it was a report, CBS News. I'm assuming that's legitimate. We can quote them, and yeah, play it.
All right, here we go.
Very interesting night. They just finished voting. This was a room in favor of Nikki Haley, overwhelmingly so. Ron DeSantis second, Donald Trump a distant third. The most interesting development of the evening, and Anthony Salvanto will find this to be very interesting indeed. They had 50 forms for people who wanted to register tonight or switch their party registration. They ran out of those forms. Members of the caucus team here had to run out to multiple people's homes to get printer paper and get their printers fired up. They printed another 25 or so sheets of paper. They estimate about 75 people were new registrations or switched their registration from Democrat to Republican in order to play in this caucus tonight. And I think that's a big reason why Nikki Haley was lifted up. You're getting a little noise here as they clean up. Was so impressive in this particular outing. If she can repeat that, because we're talking about 20% of the vote here, thereabouts, give or take.
Yeah.
All
right.
So what happened here, guys, was the Democrats had an operation to try to slow Trump down a little bit. They wanted to help Nikki Haley out. They don't care about Nikki Haley, but they wanted to slow Trump down. They wanted to beat Trump. So they had an operation. They got so many Democrats to go to this Republican caucus saying, hey, we've suddenly decided we don't agree with, being a leftist. We don't agree with Democrat policies. We suddenly want to be a Republican, and we want to vote. So they can switch party, to vote for Nikki Haley to try to beat Trump. So you have another party trying to influence the other party's nomination.
Well, let me add this little tidbit in. So I was watching one of the reports on the Iowa caucus, which honestly, this particular caucus doesn't really steer the presidential election itself. And the stat was that the Iowa caucus winner hasn't predicted the president in, I think they said 24 years. Now, I haven't gone back and checked those statistics myself, but the point of that is if the Democrats are, and I'm sure the Republicans play this game too, but if the Democrats are willing to do this just at the Iowa caucus, what are they willing to do during the rest of the races?
Oh, absolutely, and maybe it's semantics that we're even talking about it a whole lot. But the fact of the matter is if here in Iowa, if they had not had closed primaries, they would have never caught this in the first place.
Yeah, very
You know what I'm
interesting. Good
saying?
point. Good point. Okay, so I have no idea where we are in the notes. Let me switch screens so I can change my screen and check and see where the heck we
So
are.
So the justice thing, the Supreme Court justices. Now you said SCOTUS. SCOTUS is Supreme Court of the United
United
States.
States. Yeah.
So this is like I don't even know how you would pronounce it. Scotula?
Supreme Court of Louisiana.
I don't
I don't
know.
even know. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
So there
Supreme
was
Court in Baton Rouge. How about that?
Yeah, so here's the deal. Like, supposedly, the Supreme Court justice districts in Louisiana, a lot of y'all, and you should be concerned about this because this really affects Northwest Louisiana. And you heard Danny talk about how there's a disparity. Those districts haven't been redrawn in, I don't know, he didn't say 100 years, but it seemed like it.
I think you said
Anyway,
100 years, but yeah, a
you
long time.
may have, yeah, a
Yeah.
long time, like forever. And he talked about, there being, you may have 800,000 people in one district and only 400,000 in the other. Well, that's not balanced at all, not even close. He's right in that regard. And I don't know if he was talking in relation to the Northwest Louisiana kind of district, but obviously our district is in the crosshairs. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt. Not that I think that anybody in South Louisiana is directly saying, "Hey, we're going to screw those people in Northwest Louisiana." I don't think that's the case. I think it's just that the numbers thing isn't working out quite right, and it's got to be changed. And let's face it, half of our people up here are Dallas Cowboy fans, so that doesn't help. So now all the Dallas people are going to be hating on us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, dude. Piss off all the Dallas folks.
So here's one of the proposed maps. This one came through in the Senate today. And don't know the likelihood on this one. Let's see here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is a revision, a map to revise the existing maps that retains one, justice in charge of everything and 6 other districts, so a total of 7, which is the existing number. Again, they're proposing to change that districts. The justices themselves have put forward a map. I'm not sure if it's this one or not, but the interesting thing, there was so now I'm getting hit.
You're getting text already.
Cowboys fans took offense. They're hurt. My messages are blowing up now.
Well, all right. So
just for the record, I'm non-denominational. I don't watch NFL. I mean, I could care less if the Cowboys wins or the Saints fans, but Dak Prescott is for Halton, so I do pull for him.
Yeah, okay, there's that. But let me ask you this now. Isn't justice supposed to be blind? I think I've asked this or proposed this question or quandary that I have before on this show. But justice is supposed to be blind. Why do judges even declare a party? I'm being a little facetious with that, so if y'all want to have at me in the comments and let me know why. But, I realize they're going to declare a party, blah, blah, blah. But I'm saying, in theory, the judge's party should not matter in the pure sense of the law. I know it does.
I totally agree. And boy, my stuff is all messed up. I totally agree. And I will tell you, as we go through this, and a lot of y'all are going to be like, why are you showing me all this? You're going to be blown away by some of the other bills that were offered in the Senate today. And I'm sure these same or similar bills came through on the House side in regards to this Supreme Court change issue here. So with that said, one of them, if you'll go to, I think you are on cut 8. If you'll go to cut 9.
Okay, so that's, hold on, that is cut 6. Cut cut 8 is the adding justices. Cut 9 is something else.
Well, if you're on cut 6, go to cut 8.
Okay, hold on. Well, cut 8's a PDF. Is that the one you want? That's okay. I can go to cut 9 as the next map. Is that what you want?
Okay, well, go back to cut 2. I'm sorry, y'all bear with us. Which cut do you have up right there?
That's cut 9, the next Supreme Court one.
Yeah. Okay. Here was another. Here was another map that was proposed, and if I recall correctly, this was another proposal in adding two more justices. And this particular bill, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm only seeing 9, and I think there should have been 10. I don't know what the deal is here. But anyway, this bill was offered and it passed out of committee. But I got to tell you, and this one was proposing to, rather than, cutting up all of the existing districts, it was basically adding 2 more districts, which would make the existing district shrink just a little bit, but it was adding 2 more justices. And it almost didn't pass out of committee. In fact, if it wasn't, I mean, the chairman, ironically, I mean, and a lot of the Republicans here, I mean, which, look, we've got Democrat people watching and we've got Republican, folks that are watching. And there's been a lot of angst amongst Republicans as to why on earth would you have a Democrat chairing the committee on redistricting.
Right.
But I got to tell you, my opinion, the Democrat chairing the committee, he was doing a good job. He was being fair. There was no bias. He was doing a good job. I got to give credit where credit was due. There wasn't no bias at all in there. Anyway, that said, this bill was offered by a Republican, changing the districts from 7 justices to 10. I think it was 10. And it almost didn't get anybody making a motion to move to vote on it. And
do you want me to add that to the screen, the PDF with the bill?
If it's the same one, because I can't remember.
Let me see. That bill right there.
Scroll up to the top to see the bingo. Yep, that's it. So that would explain, and that was the interesting takeaway, why it almost didn't get out of committee, because nobody, for whatever reason, it didn't seem that anybody wanted to vote to move this out of committee. But one member said, hey, you know what? I'm going to vote for it. I move that we move this to the floor favorably. And then they had a vote, and the vote, it passed to move it to the floor. And if you keep scrolling down here, keep scrolling. And when you get right there, it's actually 9. My mistake. So 1 Chief Justice, 8 Associate Justices, increasing it by 2. I don't think there would have been any opposition had it not been from who had presented the bill, and it was Alan Seaball. And so I think there was something going on there. I kind of sensed it. There was a long pause, and a friendly senator made sure that it moved.
Okay. So a little bit of the in the weeds of what's been going on in Baton Rouge. Sounds like they did have a long day.
Yeah, and that was not the only thing. So let's go to cut 2, and we'll get off of this here in just a second. We'll get to the good stuff of Bossier City.
All right, let me see.
No.
Let me clear out some screens. Hold on. My clicker's not clicking like I want to. Okay, cut 2. Here we go.
So this was another proposal by Senator Miguez. Now, everybody knows Blake Miguez has been on our show before. Blake was in the House. He ran for the Senate and won, and he's in the Senate. And Blake had a bill that's really pretty dadgum simple. And I don't know that his bill is actually to the Northwest Louisiana is actually of benefit to Northwest Louisiana, or for that matter, even to Monroe or Northeast or Northwest Louisiana. I don't know that this bill does it. And here's the reason why. So what Blake said, and I got to tell you, the points that he made and the arguments that he made, he's on point. He was correct. And this is some of what he shared. Of all the states in the United States, there's only 5 states that have their Supreme Courts divvied up according to districts and then voted on by those individual districts. Us being one of the 5. So he made the point when he articulated, he said, you know, here we are, we're coming in fresh. We got a new governor who says that, hey, you know what? We need to look at what other states are doing. We need to try to replicate what other states are doing. We need to try to change the way we do business. We all acknowledge and agree we're falling behind. We need to do something different. He says all the arguing about districts and you know, moving the line here, moving the line there. He's like, let's just be done with this. He said, I propose that we make all the Supreme Court justices elected by statewide election. You do away with the districts.
Okay, that's interesting, but that's too simple. There's no way that'll fly. That's just too simple.
Well, it's way too simple, but just hang on before you make a decision. Let me give you all a little bit more. So there are 22 states in the nation that's how they do it. All their Supreme Court justices are elected by way of, you know, a statewide election. The problem with that is everybody watching, y'all tell me, how many statewide elected officials do you know come from Northwest or Northeast Louisiana? Not very damn many. It's pretty slim. So the likelihood that we will have, you know, lawyers run for you know, a statewide office and be able to compete against, you know, people from Orleans or Baton Rouge, I got to tell you, I don't know about how good of a chance that they have. I really don't.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, Andy Monica says New Orleans would rule. Probably so.
Well, Andy, I mean, yes, Orleans Parish carries a big stick. They do. I mean, they've got all of these numbers. But look, from a limited government conservative standpoint, ideology, you know, you've got your Jeff Landrys, you've got those type folks that are winning, but I just don't see anybody north of I-10 winning judge seats. I may be wrong, but that's just my take with this type of thing. And I got to tell you, I think this potentially, I could envision and see the legislature taking the easy way out. This would be the easy way out. And all of them could say, hey, you know what? Statewide election, we don't have to draw these districts anymore. We're done with this. We don't even have to go to court over this. It's over with.
I'd have to think about that for a minute because, yeah, our challenge would be, even if we did have some, you know, lawyers or existing judges or whatever from the north of, you know, Alexandria, north of I-10 run for that matter, the chances of them getting elected would not be the greatest because of population, right? Is that the basic theory?
Well, that's basically what I'm saying. I mean, look, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not in that community of lawyers. I would think that lawyers from the Bossier Bar and lawyers from Bossier Parish would agree that the likelihood of a lawyer from, say, Bossier or Caddo being able to compete with a lawyer from, say, Baton Rouge or Orleans, their odds are slim to none. I
Well,
just
but
don't know that they could pull it off.
and I'm having, one of those evenings where everything's slightly fuzzy. So I'd have to think about the math and the numbers, and the turnout at the polls would really determine that. And then, of course, having candidates willing to run.
Well, I did not see this coming. I didn't see it at all. And I got to tell you, I feel like this has legs. I feel like that this might go somewhere, and nobody saw this coming.
Far too simple to me. I mean, surely they'll never do something that easy and simple. But we'll see.
We will see.
All right. So I'm going to switch us both back over to our ice storm. So we basically talked about closed primaries. What do we want to talk about next?
Well, I got to say, was that background the reception that you got at the Charter Commission, or what? I understand there were some interesting words that were made there, interesting statements.
Yeah, there were. So let me just preface this part of the show with I do not have video because they did not stream or record the video of the Charter Commission meeting. Now, I did turn on my phone and record the audio, and according to your best friend Richard Ray, they were recording the audio as well. So I guess I could request that audio and get a super clean track. So I've got a couple of brief notes because it wasn't that exciting, as far as anything really happening with the first meeting. But yeah, your best friend Juliana, she, and again, I've got it in the audio, so I'm trying to loosely paraphrase from memory here, but her basic premise was, just they all need to get along and be professional. She didn't use that word, but something to that effect. Because those who are the loudest aren't necessarily always right. And it was a veiled reference to you and I, because one of the councilmen in the room texted me immediately after she said that, and he was like, "Oh, she's talking about you." And I didn't say anything at the meeting. I literally kept quiet.
Well, I wasn't even there.
I know. See, but here's what I would encourage Juliana to realize. Just by saying something like that, you're feeding our egos, because what you actually claimed was not true, and it's not true because of the fact that you actually claimed it. You had to take the time to utter those words in that meeting. Proves that we have just a sliver of influence, just a wee little bit.
Oh,
and we're living rent free in her head.
Come on, you're living rent free in her head. I don't want to be in her head. Good gosh, man. I'd need Prozac or something.
It was something else. So our friend Wes Marriott says he has the video and will upload it soon. Good deal. We'll be able to snag that from you, of course, giving you credit. Andy Monica says, let's see. Oh, and Weston says shots fired.
But she's going to do the right thing. She's going to give the citizens of Bossier term limits. She's going to give it to them.
Hold on a second. So
I have faith she's going to give the citizens of Bossier what they want.
Well, I'm going to blow your mind and tell you the positive vibes I had from that meeting. But our good friend David Womack says, I lost y'all. What meeting? It was the Charter Commission meeting, which was today after the City Council meeting. So it ended up being around 4:30-ish and didn't get over till, I don't know, 5:30 or whatever time it was that we got out of there. So that was a meeting, Dave. Now,
well, look, David gets smoke signals in South Bossier, so
he's probably iced in. He's probably on the planet Hoth down there from Empire Strikes Back.
Like everybody else, there's no way he could have made it. I mean, look, I literally got stuck today, and I got a 4-wheel drive dually. I got stuck twice. Hey. Almost ran into the ditch. It was that slick. But So that brings me full circle to, wait a minute, we had a Bossier City Council meeting and a charter committee meeting.
Yes, we did.
I mean,
And I actually went to both of them, Duke. I was so had cabin fever from not really doing a whole lot yesterday and today. I was like, oh, I'm going to the meeting. See ya.
so you're telling me you ignored the warnings of all government to stay off the roads, that it was dangerous. You ignored
Well,
that, right?
if I wasn't getting older and had more gray hair, I would have been out there on a hydro slide or, pick your favorite plastic container to be pulled behind a pickup truck. But I'm getting just a tad bit old for that. So I left that up to my kids, who are 20 something years old, by the way. But yeah, I just ignored all the safety regulations like a good redneck and safety suggestions of the state police. And of course, I drove up there. I got a 4-wheel drive.
Okay, so what?
I
So
know
what
how
you're
to drive. I
saying?
know how to drive in the ice. I lived in Mountain Home, Arkansas, and southern Missouri.
I just want to make sure I understand this clearly. So, for everybody except for the people that were going to the council meeting and to the charter committee, it was not safe to be outside. It was not safe to drive.
According to our public officials, that is correct. And look,
Okay.
I'll say this: some of the roads, with the sun being out today, had started melting off, but there's still a lot of ice out there, a lot. And of course, it's refreezing tonight, and they made that point that they needed to try to get the meeting done, hopefully before dark, before the temperature dropped again. I'm just checking our feed on Facebook here while I'm trying to talk.
All right. So I understand it now. So the only people that could handle, and be safe were anybody that went to the Bossier City Council meeting or the charter committee.
Well, look,
Anybody else, y'all were living dangerously. You were
they
endangering the lives of, public safety. You were endangering the lives of other citizens. I who knew?
Yeah, well, but of course, um, the big thing was, like we said in our Facebook post, money. It's all over money. Because, let's see, was it, Wes, correct me in the comments, was it Hammonds that brought up a motion, and I think Chris seconded it, to, um, basically table everything except for 2 items that dealt with fire and police, and there was one other. And they just flat out refused to do that. I mean, Bubba Don's big deal was, well, we're already here. Why can't we just do this stuff anyway? I mean, completely missing the point that regardless of whether, let me get on my soapbox for a second. Bear with me.
Get on your soapbox.
Regardless of whether people show up at the meetings or not, regardless of whether, half the time there's crickets out there in the audience, the appearance of the city council of Bossier City is that y'all just don't give a damn. You think y'all can just do what you want, and who cares about the public? Y'all need to hire somebody, some PR or marketing firm. You really do, because y'all's public image is in the toilet. It really is. And today proved that fact, because y'all didn't care. Y'all wanted to ram this deal on there so you could get the Manchac contract approval done, and what was it, 30-something% increase, and you wanted to make darn sure that you got that millage passed to get it on the ballot April the 27th, by the way, for everybody that's listening. All right, so PR department, hire somebody. All right, I'm done.
Well, they did hire somebody, but you're right. They absolutely don't care. It doesn't matter. They've proven that time and time again. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, Weston was there. He was talking to the colonel. He was there. He was talking the same old
Sure.
people. I mean, I'm not saying that being mean, the same old people, but
Did you just call the colonel old?
but well, it's the same every meeting. It's the same people talking, and the council don't listen to them. It goes in one ear and out the other. They don't hear anything that they say.
The poor
And
colonel, he's like the Rodney Dangerfield of the city council meetings. No respect. You call him old. They harass him all the time at the council meetings. Even Phyllis talks about the colonel.
But the truth of the matter is had they canceled the meeting, was any substantial amount of people from the public going to show up and express and say anything? No, they wasn't. They wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
They
they
weren't.
they
They weren't
they
going to.
weren't. But that's the government's responsibility to me isn't. Let me see if I can word this correctly because I'm flying off by the seat of my pants here. The deal is not whether people actually show up or not. It's what the government's responsibility is, and their responsibility, in my opinion, was to if you declare a state of emergency, I mean the parish did that. If your government officials, including Tommy Chandler, the mayor, say that City Hall is closed and everything except essential employees, plus you have other government officials recommending everybody stay home. You have the state police recommending people stay off the roads unless it's absolutely necessary. I would say you probably could have delayed the city council meeting a couple of days. I mean, or
But Rex,
I guess they'd
but,
have to make an ordinance or pass a resolution to have the meeting. Yeah,
but Rex, but they had to. They had no choice. This was the last day. The Bossier City Council.
yeah.
They had to meet because if they didn't meet, they were going to let down the public safety, the firemen and the policemen.
Well, you're right. It's 10 mils worth of taxes for the firemen and police.
They were going to let them. They would let them down. They had no choice. They had to risk
Wait a
life,
minute.
and they had to risk life and limb to be there to make sure that they get this, to where it'll go to the bond commission and be able to
Wait
get on the ballot for everybody to vote on the tax renewal.
Hold the frozen horses for just a second. If the city council hadn't waited to the last minute to actually get this done, then I wouldn't be sitting here griping about this, and they could have fairly easily delayed the meeting or waited to the next meeting. But oh no, they had to wait to the last minute. So that should tell you, Bossier City firemen and Bossier City policemen, where you stand on the majority of the council's priorities list. Last.
Well,
I said it.
In previous shows, I have said to everybody, having been a fireman, and it still stands true to this day, firemen and policemen are the wedge against the public. And today, firemen and policemen were used. They were used, and I'm going to not use one of my colorful comments that I might normally would use, but they used you to be able to vote on Manchac, giving them a 30% raise while thumbing their nose at all of you. So,
but wait, it gets worse. Hold on. Let me pull my other soapbox out. Tommy Chandler. Tommy. Amanda needs to print you a set of prepared statements to make. And you just need to read from that script and not say anything else, because you did yourself no favors today, literally defending the city council and having your PIO, what's his name? Lewis? I think that's the guy's name. Anyway, nice guy. But having him come up there and remind everybody that the mayor's office did put out that the city hall was closed except for essential personnel, but the city council meeting was ongoing. Tommy, you had a golden opportunity to seize the mic and say, look, we're having this city council meeting, but I really didn't think it was a good idea. I think the voices of the people should have been allowed to be heard. And so I'm not necessarily for having this council meeting right now. But oh no, you had to screw it up and be a good old boy. Now that's the problem.
Now, can you back that up? Because I didn't actually get to see all of the council meeting. I chimed in late, and it almost seems as if you're trying to say that Tommy went out there on a limb. He went out there on the good old boy limb, is what it seems like. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly what I'm trying to say. So hold on. I think I can cue this up. So folks, y'all bear with me because they didn't get the city council meet. They streamed it, but they didn't get it switched over where we could upload it and timestamp and do all that. So bear with me just a second. Let me get this queued up here and then I'll switch screens over. So we're not going to do the play-by-play of everything tonight because we don't have it all time stamped, but there are a couple of good points that I want to get in here. And so give me just a second.
So I am, I'm thinking if I'm a Bossier fireman and policeman, and the reason that I'm a little, this utter disregard, it takes me back to a time when I was there, and we literally, we had firemen and policemen leaving, and in some cases, some of them were just going across the river to Shreveport. And I got to tell you, if I'm a Bossier fireman or policeman today, when we're going to give raises like to the tune of what they're doing and totally disregarding us, I got to tell you, I think I might would be considering looking to move. And
Well,
if I'm a Bossier City citizen, that would concern me.
yeah. Well, it's like I said, I said it. Firemen and policemen are pretty much on the majority of the council, not every councilman, but on the majority of the council's low priority rung on the ladder. All right, so let me switch screens here. I think I've got this queued up to the right place. So this is Tommy with the public information officer on the council canceling. I think this is a soundbite, so hold on, here we go.
All right, you have a first and a second on postponing these remaining items.
Can I, my PO, did you put out a notice for this meeting to be canceled any kind of way?
Or the Charter Commission?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Or the Charter Commission? Did you postpone it?
I did put out the information as it related to the city council meeting on today. I put out in capital letters that it will not be canceled. And in addition to that, I also put out that the charter meeting would take place as well. And I put the times and the location. And I did it both press release, which goes out to all the media, as well as our Facebook page.
What's wrong with that?
Well, nothing's wrong with it except again, Tommy had the opportunity to flip the script on the city council right there, and it just on the good old boys, and it just tells me he's absolutely on board with the good old boys, because there's another instance concerning Manchac in here where he's just
well if I was one of the councilmen that cared, I would have said, well, did y'all also not put out a notice to the public to stay off the roads and be safe and that they're treacherous and all that? Did y'all not do anything like that? Or was that just only every other government agency? If so, why didn't you? Why is everybody else? And I'm sure everybody else is doing it because the EOC is saying, hey, things are treacherous. Why did Bossier City not? Is it because we either A, wanted to endanger the citizens of Bossier City and making them try to come to a council meeting or a charter commission meeting, or that one, we needed to give cover for us being able to do our bidding legislatively that we wanted to rush through?
Well, speaking of comments from Wes Marriott, who says Jeff Free has the sole authority to cancel meetings, let's listen to Wes. I backed us up here in the meeting for a few minutes. Let's listen to Wes because I think, if I'm at the right timestamp, he talks about the ice here. So hold on a second. Let me get this thing queued up. Here we go.
You are all well on this bitterly cold day where the temperature struggled to rise above freezing, and the biting wind chill of 6 degrees this morning froze over our roads and served as a stern reminder of winter's grip on our community. As you know, our city is currently facing extreme icy road conditions. Streets are covered in 1 inch to more in solid icy to freezing rain over the last couple of days. We don't have the infrastructure to prepare or respond to this rare weather, and rightly, Bossier Parish has declared a state of emergency, with our schools and government offices wisely deciding to close, recognizing the danger these conditions pose. In this moment, we find ourselves in a situation where public safety should be paramount. Mayor Chandler, the police jury president Rogers, and many individual council members here have issued public safety notices urging our residents to stay home and avoid unnecessary travel. Their concern for safety is both valid and appreciated. Yet we're here today convening a city council meeting. I must point out the hypocrisy and apparent contradiction in urging our community to stay home for their own safety, while at the same time moving forward with important city business in a manner that severely limits public participation. We have an important agenda today, there can be no doubt. There are discussions on expensive and possibly unlawful Manchac contract extensions and a tax millage renewal, matters of significant consequence. However, given the hazardous weather and the advice provided by our local officials, it's my firm belief that proceeding with this meeting today under these circumstances would be a disservice to thousands of residents who are encouraged by this administration to stay home and stay safe.
All right, so I'm going to stop him right there because Wes says it very eloquently. Hey, look, you got all these government officials, including some of you sitting up on the bench, that advised everybody to stay home, yet we're having a meeting and we encourage you to come to the meeting and get out there on the ice. Now, I drove from, Hickory Ridge from basically Shed Road exit all the way to the meeting. Drove there relatively safe, 20, 25, 30 miles an hour. But I've got four-wheel drive. I know how to drive in the ice. And a lot of people that might have wanted to go to that meeting couldn't do that.
Well, hey, I just wanted to point out, to the 100 people that are watching, and Rex, you were out. Did you see, Wade's crew and all those people? Did you see them all out on Airline Drive and Benton Road cleaning the roads?
Well,
Did you see them?
I didn't. In my trek to City Hall and back, no.
Did anybody watching? Did y'all all see, all of those guys out there cleaning on Benton Road and Airline Drive? Did y'all see them out there? Did anybody? Oh, wait a minute. That's right. No, you didn't see them because they were at City Hall cleaning the sidewalks off so that you wouldn't have a slip and fall going into the council meeting.
I did notice that. The sidewalks at City Hall were miraculously clean.
That's right. So, if any of you citizens, I'm just thinking, I'm thinking, the attorneys in Shreveport and Bossier, probably if you had an accident and you were on the way to the council meeting, because it was safe, and I don't know. I'm thinking you might ought to call the city council and say, hey, I was trying to come to the meeting because it was safe in Bossier City. Every place else it wasn't safe, but it was safe in Bossier City. Maybe you ought to give them a call.
Well, and look, again, even if they had postponed it and had it next week when it was 70 degrees outside, it may have still looked like that with just a few people. And again, there were a few more folks over to the screen right that, you don't get that camera angle. But it's the appearance and the principle of it. It doesn't matter if just one person shows up.
Oh, that daggum principle of the thing. That's kind of like that old adage of the shoe bees on the other foots. So,
yeah.
What other wisdom did we have? What other wisdom did we have spewed out here?
Let me see if I can go through. This is a good one. All right, so I think this is where they discuss Manchac. Now, let me back up let me go forward to 1816. Hold on. That's close enough. All right, so now you're fixing to hear the reading of the agenda item for Manchac. So we'll go through that for just a second.
Adopt an ordinance authorizing the attached amendment with Manchac Consulting Group, Inc., extending their services to the city of Bossier City. Final reading.
So moved.
Second. First by Councilman Montgomery, second by Councilman Williams.
Surprise,
Comments
surprise.
from the audience.
All right, and apologies, Wes. I'm not going to go through Wes's deal tonight because I'd rather have that time stamped and all that. But of course, Wes got up, Colonel Crockett got up and talked about it. But then Tommy gave us his thoughts on the RFQ RFP because, of course, Wes and Colonel Crockett's contention was that the RFPs and RFQs and all that, request for proposal and request for quote or whatever the Q stands for, are not illegal as Richard Ray claims. So then Tommy got the opportunity to chime in on that. So let me get right up here to about here. And y'all listen to this.
Comments from the audience. Comments from the...
Mr. President, I'm going to... My computer went dead. Phyllis, is there any way you can come... I'm sorry, y'all can go ahead. My computer died. I'm just going to ask the mayor to give us his thinking on the request that I made for RFQ. Because I did send you that. I didn't get Mr. Marriott's email, but I did do my own research and it was determined that you could ask for a RFQ, and it was something I sent to you, and I think you may have sent it to the.
This is
assistant
great.
attorney.
Listen to this.
Yes, I did.
Okay, what's your thoughts on that alone? Not his thoughts, but your thoughts.
My thoughts is, of course, RFQ is going to be the same as that other one. They say that either one is going to be the same difference in that you cannot have, out for bid or something like that on this type of work
Phone a friend, Tommy. Phone a friend.
Richard? The RFQ?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Darby, I would stand by the comments that I made in the last council meeting. I stand by my advice to this body as the Assistant City Attorney that revised statute 382318.1, which was revised to be effective in August of 2021, prohibits this municipality from putting out any type of request for proposals, request for quotes, request for qualifications, anything that has to do with professional engineering services. That specific law prohibits it.
All right, now I'm about to finish playing this, and I want everybody to listen closely because this should be the point where Tommy completely contradicts one of the things that he campaigned on. And I don't have it time-stamped and queued up, so I'll have to do it next week. But to Chris Smith's credit, Chris Smith called Tommy out, said, look, it was me and you and Cheatham that came up here before the city council, and we were advocating for an audit of Manchac. It was us. And he basically said, I thought we had integrity. So I want you to listen to Tommy's comments and thoughts on Manchac now. And ask yourself, what changed from the Three Amigos time period to now? So listen up.
Okay. And then you was asking what I thought about it. Okay, Ben, how many hours have you worked the past couple of days with this weather down like it is? I mean, you haven't had a chance to go home, have you? And everybody calls them every time. What I'm saying is they do a lot of work that we don't have to ask for. I mean, I called him and he was already up at the water plant already working. So, I mean, my idea is we have somebody good doing it now. Why should we look for somebody else? Because we don't know how those other people are going to do. Now, you can get the lowest bidder. Lowest bidder is not always the best person you get. I mean, they're going to give you some, less work too.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not.
So in my opinion is, I like Manchac. When I first came in, I wanted to make sure that everything was going smooth with what they did. I want to see how they did. They proved themselves. And
there you
I
go,
myself,
folks.
I know everybody up here on this board calls him all the time, and he's there every time to fix it. So even that 42-inch water main up in North, he fixed that.
All right. So
I got to ask a question. I got to ask a question here. And I got to ask this question to Tommy Chandler. Tommy Chandler, will Manchac be billing for overtime?
Gee, I think we talked about that last time we had ice.
We did talk a little bit about that, and I'm just wanting to know, is Manchac going to be billing overtime? So do they have a bed? If Ben hasn't went home, do they have a bed where Ben has been sitting up there so that he could stay for 24 hours straight or however long it is and not going home, and then's going to turn around and bill? I mean, Tommy, is he going to bill for overtime? I'm just wondering.
Here's part of my thinking from sitting there analyzing this, because my blood was about to boil, but I didn't say anything. I didn't want to suck all the oxygen out of the room. Notice Tommy was actually pretty coherent in what he just stated. It was easy to follow along. You know why? Because he understands that, and he firmly believes he is firmly in the Manchac camp now. And he's having a problem separating what Ruttenbuck does personally and professionally from the principle of the Manchac and legality or illegality, as the case may be, of the Manchac contract. And that's the problem. We've never, I don't think ever, said anything negative about the quality of work or quantity of work that Ben does. And honestly, I'm sure the other engineers, we may not agree with it. We may not have liked closing down that part of Shed Road and all that, but we can separate, Duke, you and I and everybody watching this show can separate and know the difference between the personalities and the professional and legal side of this and governmental side of this. And therein lies the problem, the biggest problem. But Tommy just 100% went back on one of the things he ran on for mayor. It's frustrating, very frustrating to me.
Well, I think one of the other things he talked about was an audit. I mean, I don't remember the exact language. We have it in all of our stuff. We can go back and find it. But, the audit that was talked about, I mean, I don't think that they ever really did that. I think he said every penny or every dime or every dollar, something to that effect. But I don't know that they've done that either. And, just more of the same. He's on board with Manchac and not even willing to consider anything else. But I want to know about that overtime. I mean, contractually, do they have it in their contract about overtime? Did they have it in their contract, Mr. Mayor? Did they have it in their contract before you became the mayor for the last ice storm? How about that one?
Yeah. All right. So, not to interrupt you, but I want to give Darby a little credit, actually a lot of credit, for his stance at today's meeting and the points that he brought up. So I'm going to hit play because he'll be up in just a few seconds. And let's listen to, I think I've got it queued right, to a little bit of Darby on Manchac.
Immediately in a day and a half, maybe, or faster than that. So yes, I'm confident with their work, and I don't see why we need to try to find somebody else.
Oh, there you go.
I too, Mayor, agree that there's no reservations regarding Mr. Rostenbach's ability
Wait a minute.
serve as engineer.
I don't see any reason why we need to try to find somebody else.
Right.
I mean, why didn't he just say, I can't see any reason why we should even consider any alternatives other than the one before us? You're saying that you're basically saying nobody else can do it.
Yeah, that's it.
Nobody else. It doesn't matter. They could be from Greenland. If Manchac's from Greenland, by gosh, we're giving it to them. To hell with anybody from Bossier.
Well, now, as things may go, we reported about 10 or 12 shows back on their CEO that decided he was headed over to help Hamas or whatever the deal was. So, remember, Manchac has been bought out by Wagner. Is it Wagner Engineering?
Yeah, Wagner Group or something
Wagner Group, something like that. And as we reported, I think he's the CEO or whatever, gave this big long email dissertation to, all the company bigwigs that he was taking some personal leave because he was pissed off about the Israel-Hamas situation. And I don't know, he was going over to help Hamas dig tunnels or whatever he was going to do. Apparently, as the rumor has it, he's no longer with Wagner Group. So I don't know if we should take total credit for that because apparently our show was November the 7th, I think, when we reported on that. By November the 23rd, he had been scrubbed by the website, or scrubbed from the website, I think. So I don't know if we can take total credit for that, but just saying.
Well, it would make one wonder, did Bossier City ever even consider that? I mean, I think I heard, well, wait a minute. Look, Darby, he said something today.
He mentioned it. All right, let's hit play and see what else he has to say. You're right.
He does a good job. I've said that publicly. I don't deny that today. He does. But what I am concerned about is having the 3P extended for 4 more years without, again, looking at, are we getting the most out of saving for the taxpayers? When this contract, the 3P, was first done, you were not here, but I was here, and there was no competitive bidding on that contract. This is a renewal of a contract. Partial is the engineer portion of it, but it also is attached to the 3P. And so going forward, I think we have to think about not only this private provider, but we have to think about the citizens and the dollars that we're using
Somebody
to
mentioned the
supplement this
citizens.
company. It's not even, I don't know if Manshak still is.
The dollars we're using to supplement this company.
Does everybody understand what he's talking about there? What he's talking about there is, you're talking about professional services being mixed in with other services that, okay, so if let's just say Richard Ray is right. I'm not saying I agree with Richard Ray or that Richard Ray is right. I'm not saying he's wrong, but let's just assume Richard Ray is right, that you don't have to bid or put out there for other people to have an opportunity to get the business from government. Let's assume he's right on the engineering part. What Darby is saying is that you have coupled, the city of Bossier has coupled the engineering private services with other services of Bossier City that have to be, issues and problems that have to be managed, and you're wrapping them in the cocoon of, you don't have to bid it out or you don't have to get RFPs because you've got the engineer portion in it. Well, that's kind of what he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's trying to, I don't know, trying to separate that out. And the problem is, it's so tangled up. It's such a tangled web that I don't know if you could ever pry them out of there. I mean, it would literally take a court, a judge, and an appeal, and a court ruling, and an appeal, and the Supreme Court of Louisiana ruling to probably pry those guys out of there now.
But you know what? I credit Darby for making the argument that he that he made. But the fact of the matter is the King, Bubba Williams, Jeff Free, and Vince Maggio, they're a rubber stamp. I mean, they punch their good old boy card again, repetitively, and they don't care what y'all out there in the public think. They could care less. Jeffrey and Maggio, they're talking about putting their name in the hat to be your next mayor. They want to be your next mayor. They want to run against Tommy, and they don't care what you think. They could care less.
You know what's interesting? I think my city councilman is Jeff Free. And now, granted, I've never reached out.
You're going to run against Jeff Free.
Oh, hell no. I'm never running for office again. Let me repeat that.
I think we should nominate you to run against Jeff Free.
Well, you can nominate all you want. But let me just say this. But the reverse, I've never reached out to Jeff Free for anything. But the reverse of that is true as well. Now, all the squawking you and I have done for 188 shows or whatever it is, actually it's more than that. But anyway, for a lot of shows, all this squawking we've done, he has never once called me and said, look, can we get together and let's talk about what your real issues are? Not once.
Why should he call you?
Oh, I'm not saying he should.
Why should Juliana call me?
I'm not saying that he. I'm not saying that he has to or even wanting to, but it's the principle of it.
It should be the other way around. We should kiss their ass.
Yeah.
Don't you know your role?
That's the point, Mr. Lauer. You got it.
Oh, I got it all right.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so
You daggone
honestly,
loudmouth, you.
yeah, yeah. To quote your favorite female attorney, who works for multiple agencies as a police juror and whatever. What else does she do? Oh, well, she's on the Charter Commission too.
Yeah, no conflict of interest at all, with nothing.
Yeah. All right. So honestly, folks, that's all I had time to timestamp for tonight. Now, as you can see, that's only about a third of the way through the meeting. Granted, some of it was just normal, Bossier City Council procedural stuff that, of course, nobody really has an issue with. But we do have some more stuff that will get timestamped and we'll review, at least for a few minutes next week.
So you sat up there, you were at the Charter Commission. So tell me what of any consequence took place at the Charter Commission? And just before we go knee deep into that, so guys, why was it so imperative that they have this? Because one, they got to get Manshack their money, piss on the firemen and policemen, but we got to get Manshack their money. That is, the earth will stop spinning unless Manshack gets your tax dollars. And the other thing is the earth will still stop spinning unless we get the wheels of motion to stop term limits. We no way can the city of Bossier be entrusted with you, the citizens, with anybody else other than the good old boy network, who's currently in control.
Yeah. Well, all right. So let me give you the rundown. So again, I've got the audio. The city was supposed to be recording the audio, and apparently Wes has got video or some video of it. And so we'll get that shared out, over the next week or so and get our notes together and talk about it. And I'll definitely have the audio and all that. But I just want to go over some things. So first of all, it's kind of, I think this is 2 shows in a row maybe that I said or that I'm saying I was actually encouraged or felt encouraged about being at a governmental body or entity meeting. Oddly enough, the last one was at the Cypress District meeting. I just felt a more positive vibe there. I got to say, at the city council meeting,
were they? Did you drink any Kool-Aid at either of these meetings? Were they serving free drinks?
It was. It definitely wasn't Flavor Aid. Wasn't grape. But no, look. As opposed to the city council meeting, you can feel the tension in the room. Really, it's just like on edge at the city council meetings. At the Charter Commission meeting, much like the Cypress District meeting that I last attended, I actually got a positive vibe from that. Yeah, it was comical to listen to Juliana for a few minutes, but I got the feeling at that meeting, at the Charter Commission meeting this afternoon, which was after the city council meeting, about 4:30 or so or whatever, that they really want to get down to business. Most of them do. Now, Juliana thinks that I guess it's just a tea party, and that, like a Barbie style tea party, not tea party. Because, her deal was, I don't think we should be changing any of that. And I don't think we really have the authority to do that. And amazingly, Richard Ray basically said the same thing, but the majority of the members seemed to be very engaged about what was wrong with some of the city ordinances and some shenanigans, as we call it, that have gone on, versus what their directive was, as far as, oddly enough, kind of making the city charter at least match what the city's done. Which is kind of reverse of the way it should be, because if the city's violating the charter, then technically they're breaking the law, but at least they're trying to correct the ship. And so anyway, my vibe, or the vibe that I got from the Charter Commission meeting today, was overall very positive.
Okay. So did they vote and take any action on anything?
Well, actually they did. So they voted Preston Friedley, I think I said his last name correctly, as the chairman. Sharp guy. Very sharp guy. Apparently
Have you ever met Preston or talked to Preston before?
I want to say that was the first time I may have met him at some other function before because he kind of seemed familiar, but I think today was the first time.
Okay. All right.
So, they voted him as chairman. They voted Mr. Cheeto, Shane Cheatham, former amigo, as the vice chair, and Sandra Morhart, I believe she's the wife of Travis Morhart, as the secretary, because apparently she's got some accounting or CPA experience and she's very good at note taking, she said. So they railroaded her into being the secretary and taking all the notes. So that's really the official stuff that they did. They also approved the next meeting is going to be January the 30th. We'll publish this. January the 30th at 11 a.m. is going to be the next official meeting. So, do you have some questions about the meeting time?
No,
Mr.
I am good. So that's all the actions that they took was to set the next meeting, and they determined who their executive board was.
Yeah, they did also say that they are going to try to move the meetings. Cheatham was advocating for meetings at 6 p.m. There's always debate about what time to do the meetings and all that, but he was advocating for 6 p.m. meetings. So there's going to be some more discussion about that. There was some discussion about, well, if we do them at 6 p.m., then we have to pay overtime. And Richard Ray was so worried about being able to get somebody to stream. I started to raise my hand and volunteer to stream the daggum things for free, but I didn't. Marshall Whitman was there, so the city marshal, he said that the city marshals will be okay if they move those meetings to Monday at 6 p.m. because he could do some flexible scheduling with his deputies where it wouldn't really be any overtime to have those deputies stay to be able to, attend and provide security for the meetings. So he got to give credit to the city marshal there. He was definitely in favor of making the meetings happen or doing his part to help me make the meetings happen.
Well, yeah, it does sound like that might have been a productive meeting. So,
yeah, like I said, I was, overall enthused. They're going to have apparently a bunch of meetings because the time frame for this is 18 months. Now, that doesn't mean that the Charter Commission is going to meet for 18 months straight, but according to Amanda, the time frame for all this to happen is 18 months. So the Charter Commission will have to operate it inside of that. They have no budget for anything, so I don't know if they're going to try to work with Amanda, not Tommy. I would have to be Amanda to try to get some, some sort of budget or I don't know. But anyway, overall, very positive for the first meeting.
Andy Monica says, do any of these people have real jobs?
Well, define real job, Andy. So, let's see. Weston Mary. David Crockett, Colonel Crockett says they are public meetings. Yes, Richard Ray did make that point that he considers these as public meetings and wants to treat them as public meetings. So they will be at a minimum recording audio, and they're going to work on streaming these as well. Wes Marriott says, talking about Preston says he's president of the tourism board, our past president, so he's an excellent choice. Crockett says, shout out to Jeter comments. Yeah, so Lee Jeter did bring up a good point that the city council meetings, if they try to do these charter commission meetings at 5 or at 4, after the city council meeting, if the city council meetings go long, that's going to push into the charter commission meeting. So again, that's the discussion on time frame, budget, that sort of thing. So there's my initial report.
Well, here we are. I don't know how long we've been doing it. It seems like the show's been going a while. We're still hanging right there around, just under 100 folks. And I think we probably ought to not torture people anymore with any of this boring, wonky stuff. And it is kind of boring. And I do have a video queued up for us to end the show with.
Here. Are we going to attempt to cancel ourselves again?
Well, what would a Bossier watch be without my fleeting attempt? But this one's not going to get us kicked off. It's not going to get us kicked off.
Now, Is this the first link to X that you have up in the introduction?
Oh, I have it ready to go. All you got to do is share my screen, bro.
Oh, voila. So hold
I'm
on a
high
second.
achieving. I'm trying to help you out here.
All right. So before we go to that, Weston says he'll stream the Charter Commission meetings if the city doesn't get it, blah, blah, blah. So just throw that out there. All right. Let me share your screen.
So if there's this little page called Sobo Live, and if anybody wants to go there, you could probably catch that over there.
Oh, this looks dangerous. Before you hit play, because I don't know how long it is, but we'll go out of here with this video. First, I want to thank everybody for watching. Number two, you know the same drill. If you got an email, go make a Proton Mail account, send it to bossierwatch at protonmail.com if you have some information you want to share out. Juliana, I was seriously considering quitting Bossier Watch and stopping this whole thing and just leaving everybody out in the wind, but because of the comments you made today at the Charter Commission meeting, I'm not. So we're going to keep right on going. Okay, Mr. Lowry.
Thanks, Juliana. All right. Well, I guess next show we'll come back to the school board and their special meeting. We didn't cover that, but we are going to cover that. You know, they did make an appointment to fill the vacant seat on the school board, and it was pretty interesting the choice that they made. And we've got some commentary on that. That'll give us some time to get that video loaded up as well too and ready.
Yeah. All right. Take us out of here, Duke.
1, 2, 3.
One more time. I'm going to hit finish. Hit him again. Here we go. See you, Duke.
Goodbye.